Welcome everybody, my name is 𝐏𝐨𝐲 𝐬𝐭 and this is the Market Meditations podcast. We chat with fascinating people from around the world to extract mindsets, routines, stories and habits to help you build richer lives. Meditators, today we talk with Maren Altman, someone who's managed to gain over 1 million followers across multiple different social media platforms, recently extremely popular in the crypto space over her astrology predictions. Now, while I don't believe in it myself nor have had any financial success with it, it was interesting to hear her thought process and also dive into how she's managed to grow such a large social media following. Before we jump into this episode, don't forget that I send hand-picked market news, insights, and education to over 6,000 traders and investors 3 times a week. To get access to this, all you have to do is sign up to 𝐏𝐸𝐬𝐧.substack.com. Hello, market meditators. Welcome to another episode of the Market Meditations podcast. Today, we have a guest unlike any other we've brought on before, who's recently gotten extremely popular in the crypto Twitter space. Maren, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with someone that definitely influenced my crypto and trading journey, so very happy to be here as well.
Well, I was surprised to hear that, but always really happy that I managed to have a positive impact on your journey, hopefully a profitable one as well. And why don't we begin there? How did you find this crazy little niche space of crypto Twitter?
Yeah, so I had been into astrology for most of my life, and as I got older, I started to realize that I really like to track historical cycles. And that kind of went into history and politics. But then when I found finance in the beginning of 2020, when I was graduating from undergrad at university, I quickly realized that this was an interest like no other, that it was similar to astrology and tracking trends, and that in combination with astrology, my interest and obsession with finance took off. And with a background in philosophy, and then getting into being independent financially, that was a recipe to find crypto, because philosophically, I had so many issues with the banking system, with the financial system. I was like, there has to be, this is no. And then that's what led me into blockchain, crypto. Literally during the March 2020 crash, that's when everything kind of came together for me. And ever since then, it's just been this nonstop study. And when I started making videos about crypto, which was in the fall, they didn't really take off until crypto Twitter found me in November, December. That opened a whole new world of people just like me that are basically living, breathing memes. And then I've been, there ever since.
I love that you embrace it and just say a living, breathing meme, because
100%.
Has that had a positive impact on your life?
Actually, yes. I just finally felt like the very strange, convoluted, but very intelligent conversation I felt very immediately upon joining, I got the jokes, I guess. I was not really taken aback. I just kind of fell right in. I kind of grew up around developers myself, with my stepdad growing up being a graphic designer. He owned a lot of kind of a tech-based business with photography as well. And so even though I was never in a technical field, I grew up around these people. And so I kind of know their jargon and language and how they operate. And outside of being on camera, I'm also hunched over on a computer editing and doing things all day, so I understand, and those who are all my friends are in real life as well, so it just immediately came together.
Well, I'm glad that our paths crossed and you managed to find your way over, because I personally believe that any attention for the crypto space is fantastic attention. So anyone who's out there bringing attention and awareness to the space, I'm really happy for, especially if it's done in a positive, great way. And that's actually one of the things I wanted to learn about. The way in which you brought attention is through using astrology itself to make predictions about cryptocurrencies and the cycles. So taking a massive step back, you see my videos, so you know I'm all about the data, all about the reasoning, the underlying hypothesis behind different theories. Why does astrology work in financial markets? Could you break it down as if I've never heard of it before, which is the case for me?
Yeah, so in astrology, we're looking at the correlation between planetary movements and historical cycles, whether that is someone's personality or that is very much larger, epical, historical type of movements. And with finance being a cycle that we can measure and look at the correlations with, I find it to be just a never ending interest of seeing how markets bring in the psychological element of like socially what's going on. And also, just with crypto, especially the volatility, I find very interesting because you can look at these correlations that kind of give testament to how astrology doesn't really work or not, but it's something that you can either study and find valid or study and like not think that there's a correlation there. So it's a study of correlation and you can track different things. And I happen to like tracking markets.
Okay, so it kind of acts as a timestamp. In that sense, are you comparing the price to the movement of the planets as opposed to using, say, time, hours or days?
So, with the planetary indicators, we're seeing signs that are either unfavorable, looking more bearish, favorable, looking more bullish, or choppy, mixed, neutral. And within that, I'm still learning how to do exact pricing because I think that we can, looking at past data, kind of use ratios in different positions where we are to judge that. I use it alongside TA to do that kind of thing, where something looks favorable and I'm looking at support and resistance levels. I'm going to assume maybe in that range. But yeah, the clearest thing is the pattern basically being either unfavorable or favorable. And then I prefer to use something that's a different way of judging where things could go with TA to be more precise.
And what's an example of a pattern? Maybe a recent example, if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah. So I can think too in January, there was an alignment that I had been looking at for a while where Saturn, or let me pull it up actually. Looking at my chart here, early January, we had Saturn crossing Bitcoin's Mercury. And Saturn is a planet of restriction and challenge. Pretty clear indicator that if it's crossing a planet in Bitcoin's chart very closely, it's going to result in like a definite downward trend. And I had been expecting this at the time. I don't think I was in any trades around it, but that correlated with a really big dip in, I believe it was January 11th or 13th or somewhere around then, where what I like about astrology with finance is the precision of it being like very close by degree. You can then assume that on that day there will be that kind of action. And so that correlation, then that, correlated to the price dip.
So now this is my complete lack of high school knowledge here. There's no randomness here, right? It moves much like a clock, the planets.
Exactly. There are different cycles. So, like Saturn takes 30 years to come through a complete cycle, whereas the sun takes 1 year. So, there's definite cycles and movements there.
Right. So, there's like almost a timeline with every different planet. And then when
Yes.
certain paths cross, there's predictions made based off of those crossings.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's how it's used. But and this is you personally. How do you see that correlates to the charts? For example, a support level. It's just a line on a chart, right? Like that's all it is. And but the underlying hypothesis is that there's going to be demand there because historically price has been pushed up and people have bought. That's why I think price is going to bounce up. Then to give a more abstract one, Fibonacci levels, like the 618. Now this is a bit more abstract. It's a pattern that we see all over in nature. And that's why psychologically it looks really nice. Like take a look at the Mona Lisa. It's beautiful because it's got that pattern to it. That's why we like it. How would you describe astrology using a similar example to those?
Yeah, I would say that the planetary indicators give us a hypothesis, either favorable, unfavorable, or neutral. And through that, I then look at, for example, like with if I were to be trading right now with the alignment that I spoke of, and it looked really unfavorable, I mean, I wouldn't in a bull market, but hypothetically, I would pull out a short and say I think it's going to get down to the support level that it was most recently at. I like to trade on a 4-hour chart, generally look at that, find I could use fib retracement. I go back and forth between them depending on the severity of the aspect. If it's that kind of an aspect I was speaking on looked really indicative of something pretty intense, so I would kind of be more aggressive with it. But it's another way of I use them in congruence, where I use the astrology for like, this is what I should be prepared for. Then I look at the TA for, and these are the specifics about how it could manifest in the chart.
So it's probably poor communication on my part for the question. I fully understand how you use it in Confluence, but why do you connect it to price? For example, why wouldn't you pick the cycle of the moon, or why wouldn't you pick the patterns of the winds? What makes astrology connected to the charts? What's that underlying hypothesis which could justify that connection?
Right. I would argue that there's probably multiple patterns in nature that could act similarly. I'm pretty open to thinking that intelligence is not only lying in the human mind, that there might be a larger schema and things like that that are we can use astrology to study the structure of reality, and there's probably other patterns as well. It just so happens that my familiarity with the correlations and cycles is convincing enough, and it's helped my portfolio out enough to continue using it based on the data that I've accumulated and seen others accumulate over like millennia as well.
Okay, so I'm now liking it. Where are we going with the? So how does it connect to reality there? So where do you see the structures, astrology representing structures in reality?
Yeah, the especially the historical cycles, when we look at really slow moving cycles, how literal they can manifest. For example, right now the planet Saturn is in Aquarius until 2023. Throughout history, when this happened, like in the 60s, for example,
Sorry to interrupt you. What does that mean?
yeah. So the planet Saturn is moving through a part of the sky
Mhm.
correlated with the sign of Aquarius.
Understood.
And when a planet is in a sign, the planet significations come through a lens. And so Saturn, a planet of structure and legal matters, when it's in a sign that is associated with more progressive, open minded tones, throughout history, it's coincided with the liberation or the like rights being given to movements that have struggled for that over history. So we can think to the 60s with civil rights. That's a really good example where that's repeating again. And we can see this in certain like social movements going on right now. So similarly, we can look to markets with other things, whether it's short term or long term along those lines.
Okay, awesome. So do you? I can see why historically you've seen data which you like, and that's resulted in you wanting to use it now. Do you have any mentors or role models who have taught you a lot about this, or people who've successfully traded the financial markets using these techniques?
Yeah, so I'd say the major person that I have, honestly, for a while, I didn't know that there was like anyone in the space doing this, so it was just on my own. But Astro Crypto Guru on Twitter is like he's so good at this. He has been into finance for much longer than I am. So, I mean, it's been like a year for me. So he understands kind of more of like the TA and the trends and the macro view, and he's like incredible. Yeah, I've spoken with him, had done a couple shows or a show with him, and he's really pioneered the space in just the crypto financial movements. There are older astrologers, or not old, they've been in the space for longer, like Ray Merriman. He's someone that's been tracking finance in general for a while, but with crypto especially, I really know specifically of Astro Crypto Guru, who has really good calls and is, I definitely look up to him for what he's done in the space.
Well, awesome. Personally, I haven't found much success with it, but I haven't looked into it enough.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
open-minded in that I'm sure there are 100 different ways to skin a cat, and I don't think it's anyone's place to really judge anyone's technical analysis techniques or style, which often happens. I mean, Elliott waves. I only
Yeah.
use price action. I only use
Right.
Fibonacci. If you make
Right.
money, that's all that matters in this space. So I do wish you a lot of success with that strategy, and maybe I'll look a little bit more into it as well. Occasionally ask you if the planets are in confluence with whatever's happening.
Right.
So
Right.
one other thing you've done extremely successfully is build up a very strong social media presence. Was that an accident, or was that something you planned and were passionate about?
Yeah, I'd say it was really an accident. I mean, I had like 1,000 followers on social media my entire life at the highest point. Suddenly, I download TikTok over the spring, summer. It just blows up. I mean, it went from me thinking, I have like a career in astrology, like I see clients and I'm interested in these other things like philosophy and finance that I can connect to them. But I did not I mean, I literally downloaded TikTok because I was stuck in my apartment and I could then be on my phone during boring parts of class, basically, during finishing up my degree. And never in a million years did I think I would be an influencer. I mean, I grew up acting. I mean, I for like the first 18, 19 years of my life, that's what I thought I would do. But when that ended, I didn't think like it was insane. I'm still in a state of like shock because it's been like the past 6 months, and it's very weird to be saying this from the same spot that I've been doing busy work when no one knew me for the past like 3 years in this apartment, basically.
Wow. So, I mean, congratulations, because it may have started an accident, but right now you have spread onto multiple different platforms. You're really building a strong network, a strong audience. What are your plans? What are you going to do with this presence that you've managed to build up?
Yeah, I think that my core interest has been creating lasting structures that are entrepreneurial, business wise, really change the world. And so it's been like kind of fun and insane and whatnot to be at the figurehead of that. And now I'm thinking about things like that I have always loved, like writing, like building businesses that I think can outlast just my stamina online in a sense, because even like for months it's been like burnout, just the amount of things I've been doing. So my plans are right now really invested in building a DeFi project for analysts, predictors, anyone to post their predictions on the blockchain, have them up, out, clearly stated, time dated, specifically around, I mean, you could bet on anything, but we're thinking of like binary options for price action. And then have people bet for against these, have like teams, have a lot of like gamification going on, that I'm very, very excited about, because that then allows for, I mean, I just like studying prediction cycles, like that at its core is what interests me. And I want to have like myself discussions with all different kinds of analysts on how they study the structure of reality. And like in particular, I think finance is very, very interesting. And my plans are to, yeah, branch out and create more lasting, serious structures, because I mean, I guess I had my fun doing some joke videos and whatnot. And now it's like I want to actually really, really be like taken seriously and make these lasting things.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually argue being taken seriously in today's day and age and building amazing stuff or succeeding really don't have that much to do. I find the influencers that do best, and something which took me a while to really like, I would not post jokes or jokey tweets on Twitter because I thought, oh my God, people think I'm stupid or not take me seriously. Now I'll make jokes whenever I want. No, don't think about, like, don't give it a second thought. I mean, take some of the greatest presidential figures. They'll say anything they want, however they want, and they will succeed from it because that's how social media works. So I think what you're building in DeFi is very, very smart, because right now the derivatives option space is on the up in cryptocurrencies. I mean, take the stock market. It's bigger than the actual stock trading, and in crypto,
Yeah.
it's nowhere near there yet. So that is definitely a bullish place to be. You have had tremendous success. You've grown an incredible following. You've managed to take it onto other platforms. You've integrated into the crypto Twitter community. What tips would you give to people who have no social media platform right now and want to get involved and start building whatever the industry may be?
Yeah. What I think got me into social media at the extent I was is because I I can see it in my astrology. Like my part of my life's direction and focus is around creativity, but in like a very serious way. Like I call my filming days, which is going to be today after this, like a battlefield. Like I get up, I script my content either that day and film it in the afternoon, or I do it the day before and film it all day the next day. And it's like usually if I don't have like something like this, it's like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. just like content scripted. Like it's not sitting there receiving some kind of like enlightened message during my meditation. My meditation is like me trying not to like freak out during the day, basically. It's like I need that in the morning to stay sane. But my content is like sitting down, scripting, and being really, really regimented. And that does not work for a lot of people. I think some people it is very intuitive. They get a message, they film. For me, it's yeah, I call it a battlefield. And I guess it makes sense because I have a weird interest in war, like history content, war fiction, things like that. And so being very, very deliberate, structured, and regimented with content creation, like I have with my writing. I'm really prolific and I love to write. Like I would just sit down every day, write a chapter, because the act of not creating, I think, is often a fear of what that creativity will end up being. And if you get something started, the ball will roll, even if it's like uphill really, really badly, which it has been just right now. For me, especially, it hasn't been the normal pace of content. So getting the ball rolling, creating a structure and sticking to it, and analyzing trends. Like in the markets, fundamental and technical analysis work hand in hand. So you can use the fundamentals to understand the industries to look at or the social dynamics, and then use the technicals for like how to trade that. Similarly, looking at the trends and how social media is moving can allow you to create content in a direction that then takes the specific form of the platform or medium that you're interested in.
That's a fantastic answer, and congratulations on powering through this tough period. Because I, trust me, I've been there. I know how tough it is to get through this, and it can be daunting. Like the skin needs to get thick for social media, and
Oh
you
my
know that
God.
better than anyone. Uh, it's not a place to be sensitive or have any sort of ego, which is another reason why meditation can really be helpful. So on the technicals, because I think you've just dropped gold there for a lot of people listening, continually create that content, script, spot trends that work. But what you've also done, which a lot of people struggle to do, is move from one platform to another, cross-pollinate platforms. What has made you do that so successfully, more so than a lot of other people?
I think what I've done is just post everywhere that you can and see what lands. Because, for example, like there are on Instagram, it didn't really work well for me to post my TikToks, my 1 minute ones on feed. No one wants to sit down and they're scrolling for pictures and captions usually. But on Twitter, I found that one, because I guess I've been labeled as the crypto witch, that void needed to be filled. And that platform, the medium fit very well to what I wanted to share once crypto Twitter was already there. So it was the perfect blending of intentional interest on my end. Like I wasn't like my content interest right now is like really financial. Like I just found it fascinating. And so there was no shortage of me wanting to post an audience that found me and was both also memes, and also interested in the technicals. And that's I was generally interested in like building that, which is different than I think on TikTok, it's so much more of you posting and then having like a million people just kind of there and from all different, I mean, incredible range. Whereas on Twitter, it was like the community of people I wanted to learn with and interact with. So I really built up relationships and an interest in posting to provide, educate, and like entertain.
So you found a space where you were a perfect product market fit, and then networked, interacted with people, and also were super friendly. Just being personable, friendly,
Yeah,
interacting with people. It
yeah.
really helps you blend into social media. People often think you just have to make content and then it comes to you, but it's more than that. It's like a community. It's a living, breathing thing. These platforms.
Yeah, yeah. That's where being someone who's really, really introverted and much better, like head down, like literally, like I'm just like a computer, a machine. Like I will put my head down. I will put out like I graduated from university a year early, put out 2 books, and was like, wait, yeah, did I miss meeting people in New York? Like, shoot, like I just been doing that, and doing that, but also like enjoying the relationships you build. That's been a big wake up call, because that is what will last and what can come out of this. And like it's just hilarious that I would meet such like-minded like people that some of them I might speak with them, but like they'll never show their face, and I know them as their like meme name, because they're like it's too scary, like they have too of a net worth or whatever to feel comfortable showing their face right now, or whatever the privacy reason may be. And so I like never before in my life have been reminded that like it's worth it to build relationships, and like what's life worth living if you're just trying to put out so much about yourself but there's nothing for it to stick to for your fulfillment.
Yeah, it adds tangibility and realness to social media, which is fantastic. What's the coolest relationship you've managed to build from social media that you're comfortable sharing, of course?
Yeah, yeah. The funny one, I guess I would say, well, one is that I grew up watching like reality TV. Like I was never into anything. Like I've always just been like, what is the most insane, most dramatic thing? And I grew up watching like I have a sister 10 years older than me, so I grew up watching like News as a kid. And some of those Playboy bunnies follow me, which is like a mind fuck. Like that's hilarious because like I've known you since like you were like my age now, like with Hugh Hefner. And then in the crypto space, like I have some like investors following me, like Jason, like Calacanis, and like things like that, where it's like never in a million years would I have thought that going from being an actor to a philosophy degree to being like, I should learn about money, to then posting about Bitcoin astrology on TikTok would lead me to meeting these people, launching a DeFi project with like just everything falling into place and being, being retweeted by like VCs when I post around like the Tesla and the new moon coming up.
Well, that is amazing, and I'm glad you've managed to form all these incredible relationships, and a lot of good has come with the social media as well as the challenges. But like we said, nothing worth having comes without a challenge. Maren, as we draw to the end of this podcast, I've got one final question prepared, and take your time with this one. If you were to only give one astrology-based prediction for the crypto markets for 2021, what would that be?
The tops of the Bitcoin cycle for this bull run will be May 16th and July 25th. And I have been looking forward to this for months. Ben, really, there are definitely some corrections, really intense downturns during the spring. I mean, like, definitely looks like we're in a rocky period now, but those two, like, dates, like, around, like, that day, I'm just very, like, with May 16th looking like really, really high and then a return to that price range around the end of July. I'm very, very looking forward to it. And if I'm wrong, I will like totally like that's like so far, like there have been times where I'm like, oh my God, like that was so wrong. Like that was such a bad call. This is one where it's like literally like I'll pin the tweet. I'm looking forward to this. And I'm going to be like, I put my money where my mouth is. So like I got liquidated in a Litecoin long because I was greedy and was completely avoiding what was in front of me. But for these, I'm going to do the same. Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I'm not wrecked.
Then I'm going to retweet this video clip if it is the case as well when it happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Maren, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck with your journeys in the social media and crypto space and with your new DeFi project, which I'm sure our audience will find out all about as they follow you, which will be links in the description below to do. Meditators, that is everything from me for another episode of the Market Meditations podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Market Meditations podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like us to continue bringing you fascinating people from across the world, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you like to listen to these podcasts, and share the episode with a friend. If you have feedback or an idea for a potential guest, reach out to me on Twitter at 𝐏𝐸𝐴𝐾, and do not forget we write a newsletter covering all important topics in crypto and traditional markets. We send it out 3 times a week. The Market Meditations newsletter. You also get early access to these episodes and you get transcripts and extra notes as well. So make sure to subscribe there as well.